Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
CubeMonk, featuring the world's first smart cube. Track your goods with our advanced GPS system. Welcome to the future of moving and relocation at cubemonk.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by heirs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at heirs.com.
Insured Nomads provides protection and peace of mind with health insurance, travel insurance, group, or tailored insurance for the globally mobile. Visit us at insurednomads.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
Global TV talk shows on the air. Our very special guest today is Julie Taylor, and she's the headmaster of the Bridge School. That's K12 online education, fully accredited for 20 years. Hello, Julie.
Hi, Ed. Good to see you again. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you. It's always a delight to see your smiling face. Okay, so the school year hasn't been lost, much to the surprise of high schoolers and their parents. So how are high schoolers today in the Bridge School's view preparing for the workforce?
Yeah, that's such an interesting perspective, Ed. And I think that is our goal as a high school, as any school, is that we're trying to prepare our students for their life beyond high school. And, I think there's a misconception out there right now that millennials and the current generation coming up really are lazy and all they want to do is game and be on their phones. And I believe that right now, these young people are preparing for jobs that we don't even know exist. Like, if you think about 15 years ago, we had no idea that being a YouTuber was going to be a thing, right? Like, we had no idea that you could make six figures being a YouTuber. So I truly believe that these young people are gaining skills for jobs that we don't even know that are going to exist in 10 years.
Right, applications of some of the old stuff, just updated, enlarged. A friend of mine just wrote a paper. He's going to be on our show one day in May about AI, artificial intelligence. And I don't really know what that means other than Siri or Alexa.
Yeah.
And it is listening to everything I'm doing or what?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting. I've seen so many different situations where students have really been able to excel. And this is, I will say, like the gaming piece, not every kid is going to grow up and be a professional gamer. Not every kid is going to grow up and be a professional YouTuber. But what it's doing is it's preparing them in the technology that is becoming more advanced and more prevalent. One of my neighborhood children who has now graduated and is an adult, he recently went on and he joined the gaming club at his college, and him and his partner went on to nationals and ended up winning $1,000 through this gaming culture. And so it's really neat to see that something that, some folks see as, lazy, or you're just wasting your time, is actually beginning to be career paths. But beyond the actual gaming, there's that coding aspect. There's that, like we were discussing earlier, the drones. There are more drones out there, and the need for military drone pilots is huge right now. And so the technology is advancing in a way that our young people are grasping this, the coding and just the online aspects of the technology, faster than we are as adults.
So it's really amazing, isn't it, when you think of the sci-fi technique
Yeah.
capabilities of, let's say there's drones over a crowd, an unruly crowd, or maybe not unruly yet.
Yeah.
But just thinking of the TV images up in Minnesota the other day, with all those people hanging around, and thankfully nothing bad happened. But the drones are out there; they're just not talking about them.
Right.
And maybe
Absolutely.
the drone could have come down and picked me up and taken me away just right out of the crowd.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
never know
Yeah.
what your son could do, right?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There's some really cool technology out there right now. And I think that as high schools are opening up courses that are more focused courses, it gives our students more opportunities. So whether it's a coding class, whether it's a gamification class, we have courses that are designed around photography and working through the Adobe collection. So whether it's you can get certified in Adobe Photoshop or Illustrator, to help you understand how some of these tools work, especially when it comes to not just photography, but videography. And then, like you said, that the drone certification, those are big things that students can actually start working on and understanding while they're still in high school.
That's really interesting. So, is Bridge School offering some summer school classes in gamification?
Mhm. We do. We actually do have a couple of gaming classes. We have a coding class, and then we've had iCode on before, but we do have a partnership with iCode, which is helping students learn how to code at the different levels. So that's really exciting. And then one of the things that I think that has been really maybe a positive out of this year is that you know, our students are learning how to adjust on the fly, right? So the whole world turned upside down. Our students had to figure out how to work from home, how to manage their own schedule. But the Bridge School students have kind of always been doing that. They have to manage their own schedule and when they're turning in assignments. But this has allowed, and I talked to a parent just the other day who was telling me, this has been very challenging for my student in a good way, because it's teaching her accountability and not to procrastinate and wait until the last minute to get all of your work done. And it's very similar to how a college is set up, where no one's going to sit on you and hold your hand as you're going through this. You have to find the internal desire to get this done, because this is what your job is right now, right? And so it's really neat being able to see students who have still succeeded and really risen to the challenge during this year.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times, there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
So in the bridge school, this isn't just an off-the-wall thought that I've had. I was watching Jeopardy the other day, and a couple of the questions were these really weird questions. I don't know why they're asking people to learn this crap, but it had to do with Old English literature, and it reminded me of a 4th grade teacher I had, and her name was Miss Deal. Right? Like in a card game, Miss Deal. And she just blended in with the woodwork, and she just went on and on and on about sentence structure and English literature and why I had to read this thing. And I said, I don't want to read this thing. The British school doesn't do that, does it?
So there's different curriculums out there, and there is a set standard for what a student needs to learn by the time they graduate high school. So you're not going to get away from learning the basics. However, students do get to choose, some of those electives that are so important to them. And one of the things that we offer is some dual credit opportunities. And what that means is that students are able to take college level courses, and some of these courses will count for both college credit and high school credit simultaneously. And it allows some students to have a head start on their college degree before they even graduate high school.
Thank you very much. All right. So the dual credit, yeah, I see that. And technology, working from home. So like we've had this conversation before about what are the practical things that you guys are teaching, how to balance a checkbook, or, how to manage time, or how not to get depressed, how to control your mind.
Yeah, a little bit of both. So we have a course called Consumer Math, and it really looks at all of those types of things like interest rates, how to buy a car, how to set money aside, put 10% of your income aside for emergencies and things like that, and what it means to really get a loan on your house and what is amortization. So we do have those consumer level courses that help students prepare for that. But beyond that, we do have some of those more social emotional courses. And they're not really courses, but they're like bite-sized lessons that allow students to walk through different scenarios to help them think through their choices and what they would do in very specific situations that they might come across. Mm-hmm.
Do you get it? And you can just deflect this or redirect me if I'm off base. But without intrusion into family life, what if a kid is having some problems
Mhm.
at home because of the situation in the home, and
Yeah.
the kids got to feel guilty at times, or is it my fault that they're fighting, or or abusive, or how does what can a school do in that when there's so much work from home and be at home?
So that's a really great point, Ed. And I have friends who are social workers here in California. And throughout the lockdowns and throughout the quarantines, the domestic violence cases have risen. And folks are stuck at home together. Tensions are rising. I think alcohol sales were through the roof during this past year. And for some families and for some students, school was their safe place when they would leave, and that was their safe place. So it's really important for educators to look for those red flags, look for those signs where a student is struggling, and make that connection. And it looks different when it's in a virtual world, but it's still possible to really have a true connection with your students even in online and virtual settings. And so it really is teachers' responsibilities to look for those red flags and to reach out to appropriate resources or authorities if they do see something that's happening. Not on the abuse spectrum, but in this past year, we have had many students who have been struggling just throughout this pandemic with their mental health and everything that they're going through. And I've had teachers and parents reach out to me on numerous occasions this year and just saying, you know what, little Johnny is struggling right now. What are some resources that we can do to give him to succeed? And so we have really tried to partner up with local resources, whether it is, the different hotlines that are available to students, whether it is different local places that students can go. There is different counseling services available. And I think students nowadays are really looking at not just like face-to-face counseling, but there's counseling programs where they can just text their counselor because they feel anxious talking out loud. So there are a ton of different resources out there for students around the globe to help deal with the pressures of the pandemic and what they're going through right now in that isolation. And hopefully it seems like the world is starting to open up a little bit more, but some of those psychological effects are lasting.
Yeah. So I have to say that one of our advertisers is a telehealth, and it's called
Mhm.
BetterHelp.com.
Mm.
And
Mm.
they do the text, and they've been doing that
Yeah.
for a couple of years.
Mhm.
But nobody knew about it other than the people doing it. And so,
Yeah.
but and they have licensed practitioners. Uh, anyway, that's a good topic. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's very, very timely. So,
Mhm.
did you guys get all vaccinated? It's a good thing.
No, I have not, but I know that the numbers are getting really high as far as vaccinated folks in California, at least, and
Yeah,
around the globe. Hmm.
yeah. So Joanne and I have fully vaxxed, and believe me, it's worth it. You feel safe. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the more that happens, the more the schools will open faster.
Yeah, I think most schools, at least in the United States, I have not looked at the global in-person schools as much, but at least in the United States, I think that they are looking for somewhat normal return to high school and elementary schools next year for the 21-22 school year. But one of the things that I am seeing as a large trend is that now many students are wanting to stay virtual. So they see some of the benefits and the freedom that they have in their schedule. And so now schools are looking to pivot a little bit and see how instead of like, so for example, our local high school here, when they just finally went back to in person for the very first time, I think maybe 2 weeks ago.
Wow, how's that? What?
So one of my friend's sons, who is a junior this year, it's a hybrid setting. So, they have they're only going 2 days a week. And he was the only person in his class one day. So it's different. And, what's happening right now is for these hybrid classes, the students who are staying home are still expected to be on Zoom, but what's happening is instead of the teacher being on the camera like this, the teacher is putting the camera on their whiteboard while they're teaching to their live class. And that's not it's working because that's what they have to do to make it work right now because of what some students are here and some students are here. But it's not the best situation for online learning. And so what's happening, I'm seeing in a lot of schools, is that they are looking for true virtual options for next school year. So students who in the district want to sign up for a virtual school, it will look much different next year than it did this year. And then the students who want to be in person will have a little bit more of that normal schedule.
So what is the role in it? I don't want to mean to get in the way of parents and parent advocacy for college, but sometimes a teacher sees that a kid doesn't have the intellectual curiosity to go through college and spend all that time before they learn something that they could use.
Right.
And so I know we've had this discussion before about particular vocational type topics or the beginnings, like you've just described a few minutes ago about debiting and crediting and understanding money and the idea of being on time, these things that you don't even think about, but they're really important as kids grow up. To be on time, to be prepared. You're going to have a course or a speech or some kind of a lesson. So this is what you should do beforehand so that it moves faster and you do well. And it's very, very practical. Things like that. Not to steer kids away from going to college, but, and the intellectual pursuits, because some kids aren't ready for that. I know I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
But my parents kept saying, "You got to go to college. You're going to go to college," and so.
So I believe that the global workforce is changing quite a bit, and what I mean by that is 25 years ago, there was a big push that it didn't matter what your degree was in; you just needed to have a 4-year degree at a minimum, and the commentary that was out there at the time was if you don't get a 4-year degree, your life is going to suck and you're not going to have anything that you can show for life, right?
Now, why is that the thinking? Why was that the thinking there? Because of the maturity element and the socialization that college brings?
Well, I think this is just speculation, but I think that it was at a time where college education was becoming to be more available than it ever had been previously. I think our world and our colleges were opening up, whereas previously college was only for the elite. And I think that we got to a point where the access to college was at a much greater point in time. And so that was almost like the baseline. So instead of your high school diploma was the baseline minimum, it became a bachelor's degree was the baseline minimum to get a good job, right? And so one of the things that has come about because of that is the increase in student debt and really just this students are coming out of college with $200,000, $300,000 in student loan debt. And how are they even supposed to function with that amount of debt as a young adult, as a 21, 22-year-old?
Talk about mental health.
Right, absolutely.
That'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're coming out with more than a house payment, like a mortgage payment, when they're not even able to get jobs that that are able to help them pay that off. And what we're finding is, oh, they want to continue to get their master's. So now they're not in school for just 4 years, they're going to add on to another 2 years and get their master's degree. But then what happens is that they are overqualified and they don't have any experience. So nobody wants to hire them at this master's level wage because they have not been working this whole time. And so one of the things that is a new kind of trend that I am seeing is that some very specific trade corporations will get these young folks in early, either like in their last year of high school or right after high school, and they will take them on as interns. And then what happens is they will agree to maybe pay a portion of the college. And in return, these students are going to be working their breaks as interns and typically paid interns, so that they are not just learning the education from, one or two professors' standpoints. They're getting hands-on training as well. They're getting that experience. And then these corporations are able to kind of mold these young people into their processes, their policies. And so then when they graduate, so this one corporation that I am aware of is a construction corporation, and they have a ton of electricians and electrical engineers, mechanical engineers. So they want to bring on these young folks as interns, teach them their policies, their procedures. And then when these students graduate, they've been working with them for 4 years or more. They understand this company, and then they hire them right out of college, and they're able to start off at like $80,000, $90,000 a year with really strong salaries. But the corporations know that this student that has been working with them as an intern for 4 years gets it. And so they're not just hiring random people that may or may not work out.
Boy, that's really well said, and thank you very much for doing that. I think that segment that we just had on this show is really hardcore practical information for parents out there and anybody else.
Well, also for the global market, like if they're not doing that, they should definitely be looking into that.
Yeah. Julie Taylor, thanks very much. I really enjoyed having you and the bridgeschool.net being on our programs. And I look forward to learning more about what you guys have coming up for the coming months.
Sounds good. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you very much. Have a good one.
Bye.
Ciao.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.